vòng tay. Bao năm rồi anh có hay cất bước cho tương lai mai này, em vẫn đợi cho anh về nên câu ước duyên thề. Thương anh em, thương cả những con đường, thương qua mình đẹp quá, thương khói làm chiều xa. Nhớ anh em hát vang câu ca dịu dàng, nhân cùng mây cùng gió mong bước anh trở về.
Hello, it's great to see you back here in this edition of Talk Vietnam. We just listened to a beautiful melody sang by a beautiful voice. But did you know that the singer of that song actually just studied Vietnamese for only 1 year? So who is she? Let's find out in our program today. Hello, Sasha Mai.
Hello,
How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. And maybe can you introduce about yourself a little bit to the audience of Talk Vietnam?
Xin chào khán giả của Talk Việt Nam. Tên tôi là Sasha Mai, là người Mỹ có mẹ người Việt và tôi sống ở Việt Nam hơn 2 năm rồi. Tôi rất vui được tham gia chương trình này ngày hôm nay.
Wow, your Vietnamese is pretty good. When did you start learning Vietnamese?
I started learning about a year and a half ago, self-study. I started hanging out more with locals. Since I spent so much time with them, but I couldn't talk with them, I had to use Google Translate every day for at least a year. And so every time I would speak with them, I would have to translate first and then speak. And every time I type with them on Facebook, I would have to translate and then type. And finally, every day for a year, I would remember more and more and more words and keep adding to my vocabulary. I'm so shocked, and because it's so good, people don't believe me. They think I've spoken Vietnamese since I was a kid, but actually they can start to tell that my Vietnamese is actually weak in some areas and then my accent's kind of strange. So I think Google Translate.
Yeah.
And I think people can even learn English that way too.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
The yao is is very hard. There's too many. So I just completely ignore the zao and I just see the letters and put them together. And people, even though I don't use zao, people can understand based on the context. And over time, I start to know which zao I have to use for most commonly spoken words and stuff.
Why did you choose to self-study Vietnamese but not going to some language teaching school?
Because my mom is Vietnamese, I wanted to learn it my whole life. But I couldn't because in America, there's hardly anyone to teach Vietnamese. I went to university and ended up studying Chinese. And then I went to China, I worked in China, and finally I found myself back in Vietnam about 2.5 years ago. And I tried to learn Vietnamese. I did try to learn from a textbook, like tôi là something like người Mỹ something.
But your mom is Vietnamese. Your mom didn't teach you Vietnamese at home.
I wish she did.
But do you know why?
I never asked her directly until I lost a job opportunity because of my lack of Vietnamese. So my mother never thought that her kids would have any reason to come back to Vietnam. Because I guess when she married a white guy, she thought we would be more white and American. She never thought it would be useful to her kids. And even we lived in a white town, so it's not useful in any way. I'm sure she loves Vietnam or where she's from, but she was still, I guess, too young when she left to really appreciate so much, maybe. When we were babies, I remember she did call us con, and she said anh đi and uống đi and đi tam, đi ngủ. And we learned like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But that's it. So my mom didn't talk much about Vietnam. Actually, never.
Leaving Vietnam at the age of 14 in 1975, for Thanh Xuân, Sasha Mai's mother, all her memories about her home country have fallen into oblivion.
I didn't think of my children would go back to Vietnam to see where I came from. So I didn't tell them about Vietnam. I didn't want to teach Vietnamese to them is because it's a hard language to learn, and because there is not a lot of Vietnamese community where a lot of Vietnamese people around for them to practice. So they only got to talk to me in Vietnamese, and they don't get to practice, and they don't get to, so it's hard for them to remember if they don't practice. To speak English is better so that they can do better in school. Focus in just one language.
For the first time in 43 years after leaving Vietnam, Thanh Xuân came back to Vietnam in 2018. For the first time in so many years, she returned to Vũng Tàu, where she was born, and enjoyed her childhood dishes.
It's good. It's remember back, in back where I came from, and remember to see all the people from my country, and get to talk to them in Vietnamese language, and to see what is Vietnam is like after all these years. I'm very glad I went back because it looked very prosperous, more than before I left Vietnam.
So did your mother say anything to you after her trip to Vietnam?
She was shocked. It's almost like she became a kid again, like she found her youth again. She continued where she left off, like the Dinh Độc Lập Independence Palace area. She said, wow, I used to pass this building all the time and wish I could go in. I can't believe I can finally come in.
Thanks to her daughter. Yeah.
And she hadn't eaten this one fruit in 40 years. She really missed it, and she didn't know she missed it. It's called like pink guava, and we went to Chợ Bến Thành to find it. And then and the thing is, they tried to charge her so much for this fruit, so she kind of got mad, but it was worth it because she tasted what she'd been missing for 40 years. And I felt like now I have no regrets in my life because I brought my mom back to see her country.
Would she come back?
Yes, I've been trying to convince her after she retires. She's almost 60, maybe 1 or 2 more years, and then hopefully she'll come with me. Yeah.
How is she thinking about Vietnam now?
Before she came, she wasn't Facebook savvy, so she never got to know what was going on in my life unless my siblings came home to show her my pictures, and I figured out how to call her through Skype sometimes. But finally, I forced her to use Facebook. Now she's really good at Facebook. She even comments on all my pictures and stuff, and realizes, especially after her trip here, that it's actually an amazing, developed place, and the people are really nice. It's even safer than America in a lot of ways. And so she's more at ease with the fact that I'm here.
How was your childhood?
In America, your race starts to matter somewhat. Like, people only like to spend time and be friends with people like them. So because I'm half, I never really fit in. And so I didn't have many friends during that time until I got to college. I was kind of a loner. That's what they call you if you're like kind of by yourself. But I was one of those students that just studies. Other kids want to play a lot, and I wasn't that cool. Around 16 years old, I started trying to fit in more and be cool, because in middle school, people called me robot and computer and stuff. So I started hiding my grades and trying to like wear cool clothes and learn some hip hop dancing and stuff. And so I did start to make some friends. But one day, they passed out our school grades, our transcripts, and someone took my transcript, and they saw I was ranked number 2 in the school.
Wow.
And then after
Straight
that,
A students.
after that, because in America, you're not cool if you're smart, right? So people just started asking me to do their homework and stuff, and I just became less cool that time.
I don't know how you look when you were small, but...
Right, so to people of Asian descent or people in Asia, I look white completely. And then to people in America, they always ask me, where are you from? Because to them, I look Asian, 100%. So I'm always in the middle. No one ever thinks I'm one of them.
Can you explain about your name? Because it's Sasha Mai.
My grandmother is Ukrainian Belarusian, and my grandfather is French, and my ba and Mai are Vietnamese. So my father likes history, and he wants us to remember where we come from. So he gave me a Slavic first name, and I have a French last name, and my middle name is Tan Mai. It came from my bà ngoại. Yeah.
With a mom that didn't share too much about Vietnam to you when you were a child, how did you learn about Vietnam by yourself?
Actually, I'm the one who taught my mom about her own country, because even at that time she couldn't travel. And she left in 1975. She didn't come back until 2018, last year, just for a couple weeks. I brought her even to Nha Trang. I brought her to Hanoi. It's her first time in her whole life, actually, being exposed to her country. How do I learn it? I live like a local. I chose not to live in like a big apartment complex because I really want to feel like I'm in Vietnam, and I do have to learn. I have to talk to locals everywhere I go. I talk to security guards, I talk to the parking attendants, the taxi drivers, the shop owners. And not only does it help me improve my Vietnamese and even now learn giọng miền Nam, because that's my weakness right now, but it helps me learn about their lives. Like, most people are very happy, and so that's the way I've learned so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are my two buddies, Zuka and Creasy. I've been living with them since Tet. Every morning, they enjoy going out with me and meeting with our friendly neighbors. For over the last 2 years, I've been living like a local and hanging out with locals a lot to absorb as much Vietnamese culture as possible. This style of living helps me connect with people and with the environment around me, as well as improving my Vietnamese a lot in the meantime. The smell of a bowl of hủ tiếu in the morning is something I cannot resist. The biggest reason why I love street food is the atmosphere. Street food stalls like this one offer me an authentic feel, simple but vibrant. I can see the old lady making my bowl of hủ tiếu in front of my eyes, and I can talk to her while enjoying her flavorful noodles.
Và có nhiều khách hàng không?
Có nhiều. Sáng cũng đông lắm.
Từ buổi sáng bắt đầu mấy giờ sáng?
6 rưỡi rồi.
6 giờ rưỡi. Đến khi mấy giờ?
Tới giờ nào hết rồi dẹp.
Bà là người Sài Gòn không?
Ở đây hả? Người Sài Gòn, ở đây. Quên hồi mày lẻ tới giờ 7 mấy rồi.
Con sống ở đây khoảng 2 năm.
I have to admit, at first it was challenging, and I wasn't too sure whether I had made the right choice by committing to stay here. However, after those times living here, I'm happy to call this place home.
Tell me more about the first few days when you first landed in Vietnam. How was that? It must be difficult, right?
Yes, that was 10 years ago. When I got off the plane, I remember seeing like cannon on a building, CT Plaza or something, and actually they were scared I would get lost in the airport. It was my first time out of the country, so
out of America?
Yeah.
Your first time?
Right.
Right.
And that was when I was 18. So I got off the plane and an airport employee met me at the departure ramp because they were afraid I would get lost. So he kind of took me with him to where I was supposed to go. Everything was easy. And then I got out of the airport. The air was so humid for some reason.
It was summertime, right?
Actually, it was winter, but it was more humid than what I'm used to. I got out and there were so many people crowding around the airport exit. And then I was shocked from the traffic. Again, it's my first time out of the US, and the traffic was so scary.
But you adapted very quickly to the new environment.
It took me a while. So I had a friend and they told me I'm supposed to hold them on the motorbike. I was so scared being on the motorbike. And so I would actually hold them. So it's amazing that I went from that to now where I'm just driving myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what about the language barrier?
At that time, because I only spoke English, I just looked and smiled at everyone. I felt so stupid because every single dinner I would just look and smile and they would say many things to me, ask me many things, but I felt bad because I couldn't answer anything.
How did your parents react about you going to Vietnam, because you didn't have that experience, traveling to different places?
Actually, I'll say that America is so far away from the rest of the world in not only distance but exposure. We don't think about the rest of the world that much. Americans are kind of, they're more into domestic affairs and stuff. And I've always been curious about history. So I always felt like, where are we from, And so when I went, they weren't surprised because I've always been very adventurous, mostly in my mind, until I was able to do it on my own. 40% of Americans have never left the country. Even my parents haven't traveled in decades until recently.
So now you feel connected to Vietnam. How do you identify yourself? Are you American? Are you Vietnamese? Or
recently I asked people, am I Vietnamese or not? Do you consider me Vietnamese? And it was 80% consider me Vietnamese, even Vietnamese people. But I think Việt của, Vietnamese Americans don't consider me Vietnamese usually. Vietnamese people are the ones that consider me Vietnamese. And that's why I feel like I belong more here.
Can you guess why do Vietnamese people think you're Vietnamese?
Well, before they know me, especially if I wear more Vietnamese style makeup, they think I'm from China or Korea. So they're like, bạn là người Hàn Quốc không? Bạn là người Trung Quốc không? Không, là người Việt. Huh? Usually after I explain, after that whole conversation, I explain I came here, I want to live here forever. And I explain where I'm from, what I've done. They're like, okay, you're Vietnamese. And my friends also tell me I'm Vietnamese. So I don't know, but I do feel more like I am Vietnamese, and I've been searching for what I am, who I am my whole life. So besides my religion, which is from Russia, everything about me is Vietnamese up until now, besides my growing up as an American.
In June 2017, for the first time, Vietnamese audiences learned about Sasha Mai, an amateur singer from the US, when she covered the hit song of singer Bích Phương, Sending You Love From Far Away. She then performed another hit song, Do Not Ask Me, by singer Mỹ Tâm, and received positive feedback from the audience thanks to her sweet voice and the way she sings in Vietnamese.
She never have a music lesson, because I grew up in the church, so I sing in the choir, and her dad is an opera singer, so she got that natural gifted.
From far away, all Xuân can do is read Vietnamese magazines often, as long as there is article about Sasha Mai, a little girl who has found her own career right in her motherland.
I liked her to follow music career because she had natural talent. She can sing different languages. She can sing English, Vietnamese, and Chinese. Her voice is really nice, so I don't want her to stop singing. I love you, Sasha. I miss you and come home soon.
So when did you find yourself interested in music?
Actually, I did perform a song by Y Lang a long time ago in high school for this this Vietnamese culture thing. So I wore this like $20 áo dài from where did I buy it? I think it was like Little Saigon or something that my mom bought for me, and then I wore that and sang this song and memorized the lyrics and didn't know what it means, but yeah. So I did listen to Vietnamese music a bit before that.
What Vietnamese song did you choose to sing first?
In Vietnam, I didn't really come here thinking I was going to start singing. One day, like, because of all the karaoke nights with my university friends from Vietnam, I really liked the song Ước Dịp by My Thâm. And one day, I was singing karaoke in their house, and I sang that, and when I turned my head, everyone had come over from the dining room to listen, and they were all shocked, and they said, Sasha, you should become a singer. And by that time, I had already been listening to Người Anh Xa Nhớ a lot. Like when I was walking through malls or cafes, that song always stood out to me. And so I really wanted to sing it because it sounded so magical.
But you found the songs on YouTube, right?
Yeah, so I would go to YouTube. So the lyrics, when I hear a song, I would remember some line from the song. I don't know the meaning, but I remember like Anh Xa Nhớ, Anh có khỏe không, right? It's kind of easy to remember, so I Google the lyric and then the name of the song will come up.
In Vietnamese, does that require you some kind of special singing techniques to be able to sing those Vietnamese songs?
I'm very good at adapting to anything. Like if I see some kind of artwork, I can recreate the artwork very well. Or if I hear a song with a specific style, I can recreate it. So maybe I didn't learn bolero or I didn't learn cải lương or something, but when I sing it, it almost sounds accurate. And so the kind of music I love is half folk and half pop. So I do have to use some technique instead of just singing smoothly. I do have to use some, like in my Thương Anh song, there's a part, nói xa có biết. That part I have to go like,
Beautiful.
Yeah, so you have to kind of roll it or use this kind of vibrato stuff. Because my dad is an opera singer, I grew up singing opera for fun because again, I can imitate or adapt to my dad's technique. So I would be able to sing like vibrato. And
Like, can you demonstrate?
yeah, like this is like
So beautiful.
opera
Yeah.
from Italy, right? So I learned all the techniques to like vibrato and like different things to help me even adapt it to Vietnamese folk. So I do have a mashup called Mashup Duyên Phận, and you can see like my technique there. Yeah.
But it would be more interesting if you can do it now here.
Yeah, I mean, I study the lyrics for I Cô Vì Ai, like thuở xưa ngày nào qua nhau hai đố vang câu tình ca ngày nào qua nhau something. I forgot the lyrics already, but like I heard that so many times, so I can kind of recreate the thing.
Love You, a sweet love song with Vietnamese folk melodies, is a mix between Sasha Mai and the young writer Phạm Minh Thái Ngân. Although they have never worked together before, thanks to Sasha Mai's hard practice, it took them just over a month to complete and release the song on YouTube.
Khi mà thu á, thì cũng không có nhiều thời gian để mà giải thích. Mặc dù em nghĩ là chắc chắn là cổ chưa hiểu hết 100% cái ý nghĩa của bài hát này đâu. Đối với Mai thì em cũng cố gắng, lúc mà thu thì Mai vẫn hỏi là cái này là tại sao. Tại vì khá là ít thời gian nhưng mà em chỉ nói sơ sơ thôi. Nhưng mà khi mà mọi người nghe thì có thể thấy là Mai làm khá là tốt. về cái phần cảm xúc của bài hát. Cái khúc mà điệp khúc á, nó là thương anh, nó là nó cần liền một hơi. Thương anh, em thương ca nhưng còn nãy là thấy là Mai hơi ngắt một chỗ đó tí xíu, thì chỗ đó nó cần một cái cảm xúc nó liền mạch hơn.
So lên cảm xúc.
Đúng rồi.
Okay.
Nó cần liền mạch hơn, và cái câu sau cũng vậy. Nhớ anh, nó liến nhẹ một cái. Nhớ anh, em hát vang câu ca dịu dàng.
Okay.
Đó, ok, làm lại ha.
Anh em hát vang câu ca dịu dàng.
Ok, làm lại nha.
Ca dịu dàng.
Đó luôn nè.
Anh trở về nhanh chóng.
Đầu tiên thì Sasha bảo là rất là yêu âm nhạc ở Việt Nam, rất là thích và muốn hát nhạc Việt Nam nhiều, mà trong khi đó về căn bản không biết một cái chữ nào về tiếng Việt hoặc hiểu về Việt Nam gì hết luôn. Thì sau một quãng thời gian thật sự là ai cũng bất ngờ, bạn ấy học rất là nhanh, không biết ý nghĩa bài hát nhưng mà những câu, những chữ, những từ ở trong Việt Nam mình nhấn nhá rất là khó, những cái bằng, những cái chắc, những ngã ngựa và nặng rất là khó hát. Thì bạn ấy thuộc rất là nhanh, thật sự thì cũng là vất vả cho producer, vất vả cho người thu âm, với nhạc, nhưng mà thực chất là thấy bạn ấy cố gắng nhiều, cho nên là tất cả mọi người vẫn luôn cố gắng giúp đỡ bạn ấy để có một sản phẩm tốt.
Not only working together in the studio, Sasha takes full advantage of this meeting to learn Vietnamese from her colleagues who are willing to teach her about phonetics. The most interesting thing is while she hasn't taken any official Vietnamese or musical classes, Sasha is able to memorize Vietnamese and musical knowledge very quickly.
Mai cũng có góp ý là ở khúc này nó cần vậy. Lúc đầu là không có cái khúc mà em hát bè vô đâu, nhưng mà cuối cùng cái là Mai mới nói là bây giờ nó cảm thấy cái bài nó ngắn quá, thì em mới nghĩ là sao mình không hát dạng bè nhẹ vô cho nó dễ thương, nó có cái sự tương tác, thì em hát vào và dời lại một cái đoạn gian tấu ra đằng sau và thêm một cái đoạn ngắn phát triển từ cái điệp khúc nữa, và sau đó là out, thì em thấy nó tốt hơn, cái bài nó không ngắn quá và nó không bị lặp lại quá nhiều để gây nhàm chán.
When you sing the songs, do you fully understand the meaning?
Because my dad is an opera singer, opera singers sing in foreign languages all the time. And they're used to studying the lyrics and remembering the lyrics, but they never really know the meaning. They do, but it's mostly just remembering sounds. And that's how I first started singing Vietnamese. I didn't know what I was singing. I just remembered I'm supposed to sing like, anh có khỏe không? Like, I don't know what that means, but I would remember the sounds, and it's hard to remember. And my friends at the time were helping me. So they actually told me, Sasha, your Vietnamese singing is really bad. You're not singing it correct, even though I thought it was. So then whenever a word ends in a consonant, then I have to kind of like roll it to an end sound. And then
Like what? Can you give an example?
Like the sound in Vietnamese is very hard for foreigners. And the T sound is not T, it's T. and different things like quê or huệ, like quê hương, like I can't use a K sound. And so I would start having to make this kind of color-coded notes on my lyrics to make sure I'm singing correctly, and I always smile when I have to do the like nhớ, not nhớ. From 2 years ago till now, I remembered all those patterns, remember what I used to do wrong, and I correct them. So now I can even not memorize, but study lyrics accurately within even an hour. And then in the studio, if some error happens, then we'll just record again. But live, by then, after recording so many times, when I have to sing live, I can usually remember all the patterns. To get feeling though, they said, Sasha, you have no feeling. Like, you don't even know what you're singing. So they tried to translate the meaning of the lyrics to me. And it turns out okay, but sometimes they can't really translate it very well because Vietnamese music is very poetic or metaphorical.
Right.
So I try to feel what I'm supposed to feel during this part of the song, and I'm getting better.
So how long does it usually take you to practice and memorize the lyrics?
So I don't need to memorize unless I'm singing live. So for me, it takes about an hour to prepare myself well enough to go into the studio. Back then it took me a month to go over the lyrics with my friends. But now maybe an hour, and then we record. It's done in a couple days, and then we film in the studio or in a phim trường, and then it's done.
So you actually have to finish the recording of the song first, and then you come up with the idea for the music video?
Right, but for covers, that's someone else's song, someone else's investment, and so it's not my product. It's like when you appreciate something and you like it, so you want to cover the song. I don't spend a lot of investment into the video. I just want it to be simple.
So when did you know that people are actually listening to your cover songs and you are getting more popular?
My first cover, Người Anh Sao Nhớ, it kind of surprised me because at the time I didn't think I would be any kind of famous at all. But it ended up being shown on Thanh Nhiên News and on HTV, and it got like a few million views total on YouTube, not on my account, but people uploaded it everywhere. One day, someone in America told me like, Sasha, you're on Ken Mui Boom News. Do you know what that is? That's teen news. And I said, really? Send me the article. So I was really surprised.
And that was, what year was that?
It was 2017. I expected 10,000 views of my friends. I didn't think it was going to like blow up in a sense. And after that, many people in music industry added me on Facebook and started contacting me.
So what about your future plan?
I have a new original song coming out. It's because I can't write my own music in Vietnamese. It's written by Tia Hai Chao. She's a very talented songwriter that won Sing My Song the first season. And she's producing this song for me. It's deep house. So it's a little different from what I usually sing, but I like it.
Giờ đây chúng ta 1, 2, 4, 3 một tình yêu liền làm 2, 4, 3 dòng chia xa. Người yêu có nhớ tôi không? Ngày đêm có ngó mây trâu lạnh bờ môi tranh lòng thôi mỗi khi người xa thôi. Đã bao xót xa mình cầu cho bao tố không gần ai.
So Sasha, music brought you closer to Vietnam, but how did you go from one step further from studying the Vietnamese songs to actually learning more about the Vietnamese culture?
In my observation, I saw that the songs that Vietnamese people sing are so romantic and so dramatic. Vietnamese people are more reserved, and so when they're outside in public or something, they don't really show too much feeling, I guess. So most songs are about romance, about love. So that's the only thing I could probably learn about Vietnamese culture. But folk music is a bit different. It's, like I said, metaphorical. So even something like Bozak Mai Choi has so much meaning behind it. But it also made me realize the simplicity of Vietnamese songs, but how beautiful and meaningful even one simple line can be. Like even in my song Thương Anh by Phạm Đến Thái Ngân, he uses that kind of technique to take something so simple as smoke in the distance or footsteps to mean so much more, right? So I tend to like those kind of deep and meaningful songs more than something very plain and pop style.
So do you kind of create a style for yourself?
So I want to I had this investor that was managing all of my music for a year. Like I told them I love pop ballad, and I do love folk. So they told me to focus on like folk more because it's more unique, and pop ballads are the trend. If you follow a trend, you'll always be behind the trend, and that made sense. So for my image, like now, I'm just managing myself, but a lot of people are helping me. They told me I need to make an image. Should I be a sporty person with pop, like Chipu or something, or should I be like all folk and bolero? I'm trying to decide, but I'm so used to being so many things. Picking one image alone doesn't represent me well. So maybe some kind of combination. So maybe a more folk pop style and a more pop ballad style. And I'm girly, but I'm also pretty manly as well. So trying to combine those two.
Yeah.
Besides singing, Sasha Mai is the regional director in Southeast Asia of Your Take, a company specializing in distributing and supplying chemicals, machinery, and equipment for the chemical industry. She's in charge of importing chemicals and machinery from Switzerland, Germany, Italy, Japan, Korea, USA, or China to supply the markets in Vietnam and some other Southeast Asian countries.
After successfully selling in the Vietnam market and helping many paint and ink companies with their production, we look forward to entering other Southeast Asian markets as well. And I will be managing this and am very happy to cooperate with Diamond in Germany.
Hello. So after already 8 years working together with this company here in Vietnam, we decide now that we offer extend this contract to for other countries like Myanmar, Cambodia, Thailand, and Laos. Yeah? And so we trusted Hubert that he is also entering the market like he did it in Vietnam, and hope that we have the same success. Responsible for this market in this country is Sasha.
Thế hệ trẻ của Mỹ họ về với Việt Nam bởi vì thứ nhất là họ học được, thứ hai nữa là công việc họ có, thứ ba cũng là một cái nơi để trở về với quê hương của họ. Cô Sasha cô có một cái tính rất là dân tộc. Lẽ ra cô có nhiều chỗ để chọn, tại vì thật ra ở các nước khác vẫn có công việc như Trung Quốc, như Đài Loan hoặc là Malai, nhưng mà cô lại chọn ở Việt Nam bởi vì cô yêu cái văn hóa. Vì ít nhiều trong cơ thể của cô ấy là có cái dòng máu của người Việt.
Now I want to ask about other things, other jobs that you are doing besides singing. Can you share more about that?
Right now, I'm doing exactly what I studied. I'm building up a company, a trading company in manufacturing. And we import machinery from Europe mostly. And this is very high quality machinery that can help Vietnamese factories and other factories around Southeast Asia improve their production by a lot.
So Sasha Mai, you're a businesswoman, you're a singer, and those two seems like to have nothing in common. So how do you balance?
So actually, it has a lot in common.
It has?
It does. Yeah. And this is why I was able to continue singing, because my hobbies are singing and business. And I like to talk about business cases. And one business case is singing. Because singing is a business. The song is the product. The audience is the market. And to get the product to the market, you need to do marketing.
Right.
And you have to make content that they love, not just content you love. And so it's been a lot of lessons learned over the last 2 years in music. I not only like to make the music, but I like to work on the marketing and distribution and a lot of things. So, yeah.
Do you think that you want to pursue to be a professional singer? Because, you know, to stay on the top in this business is quite competitive. What do you think about that?
I would say right now the entertainment industry in Vietnam is very hard for young people. So actually when I see young people with đam mê ca hát or something, I tell them to be careful. I say it's okay to have that passion, but don't forget to study something else too. Yeah, because right now, if you want to be a singer in Vietnam, there are so many singers already, and there's so many platforms. People can make music videos with their phone. They can learn how to record music by themselves. So the production part doesn't take a lot of money. And everyone can produce. Every day someone can produce even a cover. It only takes a day. But the other side is how to beat all of the people that are not really competing, but they're fighting for a spot in trending pretty much. Tin hành, yeah? And how do you do that? That usually requires a lot of investment. And that's the part people don't really understand.
But do you want to pursue that career path?
I recently asked my Facebook friends in a poll. I said, what's better, being a businesswoman who sings or being a singer who does business? I thought people would all say to be a businesswoman who sings, but actually it's 50-50. Everyone said, we don't know, they both sound very good. I think I want to be a businesswoman who sings. I don't want people to believe in some magic dream that probably won't come true. I'd rather people focus on studying and focus on music as a hobby, more of a hobby. And so yes, I do want to release music because I love when people listen to my music and they tell me that they listen to it every day, and it moves me a lot. So I love the feeling. As I said, I wanted to be a singer when some people told me to. They heard my music. So yes, I don't mind if if it happens, it happens, but if it doesn't, then I'm fine. So I'll keep releasing music regularly, like every few months an original song, every week a cover, see what happens, but 80% of my time is business. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sasha, so much for your beautiful stories, and I hope that with your successful story here in Vietnam, you would help send out the message to help bring more Vietnamese, second and third generation Vietnamese overseas to return to Vietnam and start their career. And we wish you all the best for your future project.
Dạo dạt mây trôi chúng xa xôi, anh ơi em vẫn đợi đêm dài mây trôi chim ca tăng tiếng tình ca lội ngầm một tiếng trống hai tiếng đời mà bóng tình chờ sao chẳng thấy